Hello, it's Melinda from Scrapbooking and Craft. Today I just thought I'd bring you on and show you my Mission May page for Mission Inspiration, a Facebook group started by Mike Deakin. I'll put the link to the Facebook group below. So if you haven't heard of Mission Inspiration before, it's basically Mike Deakin or a guest, I can't remember the guest's name, this month, makes up 10 steps that you need to follow to complete your scrapbook complete your art journal page or canvas or whatever you want to work on. So I will take you through what I did. I didn't film a process video for this one because I actually started this when my daughter was filming something, and then I finished it off without doing a process video. But next month I'll endeavour to do a process video. As I get better with my editing. What I'm working in is actually a recycled hardcover book, and I've stuck 4 pages together because they are quite thin, and removed several pages as well. Removed every second page, tore out, and then stuck 4 pages together just with a dry glue stick, just with a really cheap kids glue stick. So I've done that to the entire book, and I'm working some at the front. I started at the front and then the binding was going all interesting, so I've actually started to work at the throughout the back as well. So if you're doing a book like this, you do need to work sort of some in the front and some in the back, just so your binding holds up. So this is one of the few last back pages that I've got in the book. So you'll see a slight bit of the text showing through, but I like that effect. If I don't want to use the text, I just gesso over it. So the first step was to gesso, so I put some white gesso down. I didn't put it down too thickly, and you can still see some of the words, which is the effect I wanted. Step 2 was use 3 gelatos. So I used, that's the green grass, the blue sky, and there's actually 2 blues in the sky. One's a metallic. I'm not sure whether you're going to be able to pick it up. I decided to keep this quite subtle. I didn't know where I was going with the page when I first started, which is a lot of things. So I thought I'd do a scene with sort of blue sky up the top and green in the middle, but I sort of halved it, and then I had so much trouble placing my elements, I should have done like a 1/3 grass or a 1/3 sky, but live and learn. Next one was blow paint with a straw, so I thought I'd blow some clouds in the sky, so you can sort of see one up here. If you look very closely, I'm wondering if I can get that closer to the camera. You can sort of see there's a cloud in there, sort of a cloud over here, a bit of a drippy cloud down here. So they didn't go as opaque as I wanted them, but they're sort of, you can see them in real life. I'm not sure how much they're going to show up on the camera. So the next one was stencil any medium. So I decided the clouds weren't enough, so I went in with this stencil, which is one of my designs, my trio design, to create some clouds. And again, it's very faint, but it is there. The best part you can see is over under the building here. There's some up in the sky. So I just did that with white gesso, and it didn't cover it up. I really only wanted it very subtle. So texture paste, I actually used a bit of this off packaging to do some dots in the grass down here, just randomly, just in the white gesso, and I left them white, and they actually sucked up some of the gelato colours, so they're a little bit green. So next one's collage elements. I'm going, what am I going to do with this page? So in my Empty the Box May challenge, I actually found these die cuts. These are actually samples sent to me by one of my suppliers for my business when they come out with new die cuts. If you've ordered recently, they send you these boards to show you the size and stuff of the die cuts. So this is an Australian company, so this was their Australian range. So we've got koalas and Sydney Harbour bridges and things, and different things. This one I actually painted up but never used, so it's just stuck back there for now. So the house, they were only cut out of white cardstock, so what I did to give them some colour was just use some really, really cheap. These were like $2.50 at a cheap store. I don't particularly like them. I'm trying to use them up. They're very plasticky when they dry, the watercolours, and I just don't like them. But I do like the container, so I'm actually going to save the container, and I thought I'd take some of my Tim Holtz Distress inks and create a watercolour palette because they're quite deep, and then you've got this to mix on as well. So I want to use them up, not to waste them, and as you can see, there's hardly any in each pot colour. So the blue, the brown, the green, this blue, purple, yellow, you can see the bottom of the pot, bottom of the pan, so they're very, it's almost negligible colour in there. So they usually only do 1 or 2 projects per colour spot. So I might just use the rest on some random, making some random pattern papers. So I coloured the house. The house is 2 layers. It's got a back layer and a front layer. I coloured the tree. The fence was a separate piece. The windmill was a separate piece. And this water tank was a separate piece. So I coloured those all up in the watercolours and sort of put blue in the windows and green. And I had fun doing that. I'm not so much a watercolour painter, but I had fun blopping the colours on and trying to make different, trying to get a bit of depth in the pieces, which I think I achieved. Sort of doing a bit of shading on the watercolour and the watercolour thingo, and trying to do a bit of different colours in the windmill, look rusty, and the bridge and the wire fence. So these were stuck down with Mod Podge. That was a bit of a challenge because this one was quite thick and kept springing up here in the spine of the book, but we got it down eventually. So pens, so I just went in with a just a fine line marker and just did a bit of detail into the house, and did a bit of shadowing. I think that's where the shadowing come from. Yes, it is. So I've just used, this is a texture from, or a brush marker from Daiso. So because I had the matte medium down, I could smudge it a bit, not as well as a Pick pen, but it still smudged a little, which was handy. Next one was border. So I wanted to keep, I liked how the page was working, so I just did a subtle black border of ink around the page with my archival ink. Words, I really struggled with this one. I didn't want anything overpowering the image. I really liked it. So I actually recently got this stamp set from the Reject Shop, their new Chantilly range. So the one I stamped on it was La vie est belle, which is French for something. Life is beautiful, enjoy it, just up in the sky. I just wanted something little and subtle. I didn't want anything to overpower the image, and I really like how it turned out. Stickles and glitter. I didn't really want to add glitter to the page because it was like a rural scene. But at Christmas time, my daughter actually bought me some glitter paint, which is basically, it's got a little bit of a green tinge to paint in it, and it's got the glitter through it. So I actually just smudged some in the grass, and it just gives it a nice effect, but doesn't detract from sort of the rural setting I was going for once I started. So I thoroughly enjoyed this page. Thoroughly enjoyed watercolouring these die cuts. So I don't own many die cuts myself. I don't actually own these designs. I never bought the dies for them. I just got sent the free samples with my business. So I'm maybe looking for some more of these dies to do, because I thoroughly enjoyed painting them and thoroughly enjoyed the challenge. So this is my mission May is complete, and I will pop this up so you can see, and I'll do some still photos into the Facebook group as well. So it's a great challenge if you're starting out in mixed media, or even if you're an experienced mixed media artist. Not that I'm saying I'm experienced, I've only been doing it a couple of years, and more off than on, not doing it than on with those 2 years. But it's great to give you the steps. You have a lot of freedom, and it's great to look at other people's work and see how they've interpreted the steps. And if you don't have, for example, if you don't have gelatos or any water-soluble media, you could use paint, you could use watercolours, you can adapt the prompts to suit what supplies you have. If you have very limited supplies, you could use watercolour pencils, for example. You could use Inktense pencils, you could use basically anything. So texture paste, you can make your own texture paste. So it's quite vague in what you can do, which is good because you can adapt it to whatever level you're at and whatever level of supplies you have got. So thank you very much for watching. I will catch up with you again soon. Bye for now.